If we were to make a show where we said, in this episode, we're talking about experience design and we're going to have a bunch of experience design stories. It's like, well, I don't even know what that is. I'm not interested. You lost me. So, but if the audience knows that every 4 to 5 minutes it's going to change to a completely different story, that keeps them going.
I'm not sure if this is for you, but do you want to create products and experiences with the potential to become iconic? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Conversations with Roberto. Here I sit down with top entrepreneurs, innovators, designers, founders, and thought leaders. And I'm driven by curiosity and seek to unpack actionable and meaningful insights for you. Because as a designer, I believe I have an obligation to create more than just well-designed products and experiences. These creations must serve a clear purpose, embody innovation, perform exceptionally, and exhibit an outstanding quality. In essence, my goal is to guide you in building iconic products and experiences that matter and get people talking about you. I'm Roberto Inderbitzin, the founder of Freeframe.design, an internationally active, purpose-driven design studio based here in Zurich, Switzerland. So I like to start with the cocktail question. So what do you do and why do you do that?
Okay, where's the cocktail? That's my
Well,
that's my question back.
it's here.
Yeah. I should fix myself one, I guess.
Oh, I mean, we have time if you...
Yeah, what do I do? So I'm a TV producer and I produce shows about design. So architecture, interiors, innovation. So in other words, industrial design and also hotel design. They're our biggest shows. And we put them on CBS in America on mainstream TV. So in some ways, I kind of think of like we're having a design conversation. So we're having a design conversation in front of a football crowd,
Right.
in front of everybody. Ditch diggers to doctors to lawyers, everybody in between is watching the show. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because I feel like we're rising the tide on the design conversation. Just people getting to understand what the power of design is.
Yeah, from all designers, thank you. Because I don't see there are too many shows like that or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks. And I like that. And we get that a lot actually from the design community. They do love what we're doing. And that's formally acknowledged with our partners like the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, the German Design Council. Love our relationship with them. The AHLA, American Hotels and Lodges Association, the IDSA in America, Industrial Designers Society of America. These are some of our partners in these shows. And I'm very proud of that, because they really are the institution, if you will, in design, and they like playing with us. So yeah, I like that.
Sounds great. How come? I mean, obviously, you don't have a very American accent.
Oh, really?
So,
No, this is a
new one.
A Soho accent. Yeah, it's
Sorry.
just the southern tip of Manhattan. It's a specific accent. Just a few blocks.
I haven't been there. Yeah, that's right.
No. This all started in Australia.
Exactly.
So I'm guilty of being an Australian. But I'm living in Manhattan in New York these days, where it's better for us to be based here than all the way over on the other side of the world, because I guess the bigger design conversations are happening. As much as I love Australia, it's a very lively, crazy design scene actually in Australia. Definitely punch above their weight. But anyway, the sheer numbers are this side of the planet. So we've mainly based ourselves here.
Absolutely. Yes, but you started with the show, with the premise of the show in Australia.
Yeah, with Australia ByDesign. Quite the institution there on Channel 10 there, which is kind of the CBS of Australia, or for European listeners, perhaps the RTL of Australia. So, mainstream, one of the OG networks in Australia that we grew up watching, sitting on the couch with our parents in the 60s, 70s. So it's and I guess in Australia it's slightly less clouded as far as choices in the media. So those networks are still kind of the main thing. I mean, of course, they have streaming and everything, but it's it's still one of the main networks. And yeah, I guess if you stopped an Australian in the street or a kangaroo and asked them, have you heard of Australia by Design?
Right.
Probably every third or fourth person has, because we've been on air quite a lot, and
That's
we get
amazing.
a lot of followers. Yeah.
Must be great to, as you mentioned, it's like when you were a kid watching that show or watching that network, and now suddenly you have a show on that network.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's fun. In fact, there was a show that I used to love called Beyond 2000. Well, actually, no, this is in Australia. It started by being called Towards 2000. So this was a show in the early 90s. And I used to love that. It's kind of similar to what we're doing now. It was all about innovations of the time. And then after, when we hit 2000, it became Beyond 2000.
right.
So that I often reference that at times when we're making our show. I sort of just think, yeah, what would they do? Because it's the 90s were not all bad. There's things from the 90s that were cool.
There's some really cool things. Well, of course there was. What made you choose design? Since design is still, I would say, a niche, especially industrial design. Even though I would say we are surrounded by objects and artifacts that we have designed.
Yeah, I guess I'm a TV producer one of the things we do as producers is look for a story to be told that hasn't been told, or to expose a cause. Because I almost feel like design's a bit of a cause. It wants to be known more, it wants to be respected more. And so that attracted me a little bit, and I could see that it was being mishandled too. So, the show I'm about to describe here 20 or 30 shows that we all know. The designer comes pouncing in with his colorful scarf and rearranges the furniture and changes the color on the walls, and then surprises someone who's been out of town. And that's a design show. Tick. Job done. It's not really helping the design cause. It's not really explaining what a designer really is. And I guess the design community can see that with our show. We really are trying to, in an accessible way, having this design conversation in front of the football crowd, where we're helping to explain what a design is, what a designer is, what designers do, especially industrial designers. They're the most misunderstood. I remember in our Australian show, there's a regular guy on our show there, and he said, I was at a barbecue recently, and one of my friends I hadn't seen in a while said, "Oh, I saw you on that show. I now know what you do. You've been trying to tell me for years," and my eyes kind of glaze over. But when I saw this show, I actually got it. I understand industrial designers don't design factories, they might, but that's not really what they do. I love that, educating one person at a time if we have to.
Yeah. I have those kind of friends that you try to talk to them and explain what you do, and exactly their eyes glaze over. They get lost.
Isn't that done in a factory or something by, I don't know, some engineer or whatever?
Yeah, I think it gets way too complicated when you start to explaining everything is designed. And it gets complicated when you start telling people, what a game controller or a car seat. So the range of it is so immense.
Yeah. Or when you ring up to talk about your power bill, that experience is designed. You might be talking to a robot initially, and then they play annoying classical music because they're trying to calm you down. And then finally you end up with you can hit a button and talk to a person. All that experience has been designed. So
usually, or hopefully.
Yeah, often badly, I find.
Yeah, especially the music one, the music choices. I don't know. there must be a way to make it enjoyable, but it never is.
No, why can't they use
Like the
cool
quality
music?
is bad, or the sound is horrible, or it's just squeaky, and then I don't know.
Yeah, it's
There's a
all
niche there. I
driven
guess
by
there's a
money.
niche.
I think so. I think you're onto something. You could commission a whole bunch of music just for those situations.
Yeah. Well, that would be something.
There you go. I'll give you that one for nothing. That idea.
There we go. There we go.
Someone out
Yeah.
there.
All right, go there. Give us a commission.
I know. Won't that be annoying if in 3 years' time, be hearing on some primetime chat show, how did you make your money? Actually, I was listening to these two guys on a podcast.
Right.
That'd be pretty annoying.
Oh, that would be. So how do you become a unicorn? It's like, oh man. So, but let's go back to design. I mean, you make the show around a competition, a design competition, to make it more engaging. So you were designing the engaging factor, or people really trying to compete with each other. What are the factors that make a good design on that?
Yeah, we've actually toned that down in more recent versions of the show. So in the more recent Europe by Design series, or the latest Hotels by Design series, we kind of they're not judges anymore. They're called commentators. So we commentate on the various stories. There is still an element of that. We have a commentator's choice at the end of the series. They're not really described as the winner of the series, though. They're just it's just a pick from the commentators. And there's some other kind of awards for what do you call it? Like an innovation award or a best use of color award. So we have a few little awards like that in the show. But yeah, we mostly are just wanting to celebrate the various versions of innovations, the different types, like we were saying about the power company, the experience design that is, and we mix it up on purpose. So if we've just had a story in Germany about like a product design, for 4 to 5 minutes, the very next story is going to be an experience design from Singapore, for example. And then the next story after that will be, something different again, geographically, and also the type of design. That's on purpose. If we were to make a show where we said, in this episode, we're talking about experience design, and we're going to have a bunch of experience design stories. It's like, well, I don't even know what that is. I'm not interested. You lost me. So, but if the audience knows that every 4 to 5 minutes it's going to change to a completely different story, that keeps them going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's clever, and it's really engaging that way. What I found, it's really interesting. Like you were talking in one episode with this luminary designer, Ross Lovegrove, and to hear his thoughts and how he talks about design, it's so different than somebody who, for example, does speakers.
Yeah,
but the essence is still there. And what I really enjoyed about the talk you had with him is, like, I found a different voice of him, of the designs. Even as I know that I've been following him for a couple of years, knowing how he talks and how he does it, the sketches and his thoughts on sketching and writing, it's very inspiring.
Right.
So that was a good one.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I mean, I so enjoyed that conversation with him. I mean, he's got a big brain, a big design brain. Lots to learn from him, and it was done in a relaxed manner in his home. We had some time, and I just sat there and drilled him, basically, because he's got a lot. There's a lot of gold in there. That comes tumbling out. If you look at it again, it's actually on ByD Plus, as we call it. So that's sort of things around design around the TV shows. So, ByDesign Plus, basically, ByD Plus. So that's on our website on bydesign.global. You can see that interview. I'm teased often by my friends that I'm wearing socks. So in the wide shots in that, you can see his partner made me take my shoes off.
Oh, really?
I'm sitting there, and I think my choice of socks that day weren't great. So it's a bit embarrassing. But I thought, if they're looking at my socks, I've already lost them. So,
Exactly. I never thought about that. That's a good one.
Hopefully they're listening to the conversation.
No, the conversation was great. How
Yeah,
do you
thank
come
you.
up with the questions? There must be like thousands of questions to ask a person like him.
Yes, I've been doing it a while, I guess. I've done a lot of interviewing, and I don't know. I guess your muscle fitness, in this case, your brain fitness on interviewing someone. You look for those tweaks, those signs of where to take it next. You can see what they want to say, so you're really just there as an enabler, as a facilitator. That's important with interviewing someone. It's not all about you, it's about them, and you're there to help tease it out of them. Kind of what you're doing here quite well, I think. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're letting me rave. Or you could say giving me enough rope to hang myself.
To hang yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just follow it. I mean, I've always been, although I'm a TV producer, I must say it's a passion of mine also, design. I've always liked, buying Eames chairs or talking about, are we going to knock that wall down, and how's this space going to look? That seems to be something I've always had an inclination towards anyway in my time. So I do. I guess I have a natural interest and therefore natural curiosity, and the questions come because of that.
Yeah, you could see, I know you a bit. I don't know anything about Ross, and the way he talks and the way you guys are talking, you are very curious in nature. And I was listening to him and kind of closed my eyes, and he talks as he would be way younger.
Guys, he's a
He
cool
doesn't
cat.
talk as being an older, a wiser designer.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting on. He'll be the first to say that. But no, I know he's got a fresh mind, sharp as.
Well, what do you think? I mean, you have the chance to talk to really amazing guys. I mean, you have here Ross Lovegrove, Caroline Baumann, Karim Rashid. I mean, Scott Henderson, Richard Branson, then Harden. I mean, what makes them so unique in your opinion? Not just good designer, but a great designer.
I think they're just passionate and hardworking. It's a boring answer, but I can just see. I mean, there's nothing particularly special about them, if you will. I mean, I think being a hard worker is special. But I mean, even Richard Branson, all the song and dance around him, he was just, okay, what do you want to get out of this? An interview. Okay, we're for the next 20 minutes, we're doing this. Can you imagine the things he's thinking about? I don't know, in space and what have you. But no, he switches off and says, we're doing this, and I'm going to give this my best for the few thousand people that are going to watch it. Because that was another one of those ByD Plus things. We didn't actually put it on the show. Oh, we put some little parts of it in his story of the New York Virgin Hotel launch. We did a story on that, and he was in that a little bit. But mostly it's, a 6-minute honest chat. And at the end of it, it's just like, I enjoyed that. That's good. I'm just thinking, what... you're running this whole empire and you're just happy to do stuff like that. That's good. But I mean, you mentioned I mean, Scott Henderson, I love him to bits. You know, he's your typical hardworking industrial designer who's also um, he could probably be a lot wealthier if he stopped worrying about the profession and getting it out there. But he's actually an active IDSA member, an active
Mhm.
cast member on our show. So I'm sure that must impact on how much work he can get as an
Mhm.
industrial designer. But I love that about him. You know, he's a real advocate for the cause. Again, I'm going to call it a
Right.
cause.
I like how you're calling it the cause because it is kind of.
It
And
is.
we really need to. We need advocates for that, and still, it's very difficult to accept plain what we do.
I know for the people, for the football crowd again, but that's where we got to keep. Yeah, I mean, it's water smashing up against rocks. You know, it's but eventually that has an effect, even on rocks. Um, so that's what we got to keep doing. We're going to make TV shows. We're going to create podcasts about the
Mhm.
topic, and yeah, I mean, the conversations I've had outside the show where I'm talking to just friends, what do you do? Like your very first question, if I'm at a barbecue or
Mhm.
something, and I explain it, you know, I do my best there to talk about design because they often straight away, you see it straight away. Oh, yeah. So you kind of, you mean like catwalks and stuff, like, you know,
Right.
fashion.
Fingernails.
Yeah. Do you work with a lot of kind of fancy people, do you? With
Right. Exactly.
yeah, that's fashion design. I'm talking about something else. Yeah.
Yeah. The unknown,
Yeah.
kind of like the unknown
Yes.
super. I wouldn't call it superstars, but some are really superstars.
They
But
are super.
interesting, like some change when they change from design to art, they kind of like people tend to know them more now. I guess I would say the older generation, maybe like Philip Stark,
Yeah.
goes more into the realm of art.
Yes. That's true.
Oh,
So it's
and
kind of, they kind of get that artists. Yeah. That is, in fact, something else that we try to address. You know, while we're making this show and we're in people's lounge rooms, we might as well address a few other things while the hood's up,
right.
while the bonnet's up. If you're from the UK, um, and so that's like design, women in design, the people of color in design. You know, we're not there yet. We're not where we want to be as a society worldwide. Um, they're underrepresented. And so if we can, you know, if we're in a lounge room in Chicago with a black young woman, perhaps 16, and thinking about what she wants to do, and she knows she wants to be a designer, but she can't explain it to her parents quite right, and they're worried that she means that she's going to be a struggling artist. And it's like,
Mm,
no, no, I don't. Here, watch this show. You know, no, no, it's a real thing. It's a career.
right,
You know,
exactly.
so
It's a real
um,
thing.
yeah. So we're doing that along the same the faces that we choose in
Mhm.
the TV show. We're very cognizant of that, you know, to try. It'd be a lot easier if I could stop worrying about that and just
Mm,
make a show full of middle-aged white guys. You know, that would be a lot easier. But no, you know, we need to keep fighting, keep putting those faces forward. And I don't
absolutely.
mean the worst thing we could do is do that in a you know, for people who don't deserve to be on the show. They still need to be great. Everyone on our show is great and deserving to
Mm,
be there, regardless of how they look. Um, the worst thing we could do is tokenism.
right.
But yeah, so in other words, it's quite a hard job because there's less of the people I'm talking about, which is the very problem that we're trying to address.
Right,
So
exactly.
we have to work hard to do
Mhm.
that.
There's this great designer, Kevin Bethune. Do you know him?
I don't. I've not had the pleasure.
Oh, he's amazing. He just wrote a book about design and strategy and design thinking and how we should apply design thinking to actually leverage innovation. And he had some struggles when he was growing up. Yeah, he's amazing. You should,
Yeah, I would
he's
like that. I
and
mean,
he's a very fun guy as well.
Right. Well, I like fun guys, but more I like meeting more people from the design community.
No, he's
That's
a great designer, exactly.
Yeah, I want to do that more and more from across the world as we're going global with this show. I mean, we make it with an American audience in mind,
Mm.
but I mean, that's obviously not an exclusive thing. I mean, I don't sound like an American with my Soho accent,
Right.
but so hopefully others enjoy it too. But I guess it's a big market that you can't ignore.
Mm.
You
No,
kind
you
of
shouldn't ignore.
No, you're kind of fooling yourself if you just say, "Nah, American market." I think that's crazy.
Yeah. What I mean, you've been in different markets and different culture, and you've seen a couple of cultures. What do you see as big, big difference from in the cultural aspect from, let's say, Europe and the US? Not just on the design side, but also on the business side. How they interact with designers.
Mm. Yes, quite the difference. It's been interesting. So, I mean, we've already done some 30 European stories, so that's probably enough of a sample to start talking about
Right.
it. Yeah. Um, yes, America is curious because some of the biggest companies in the world are led by design, and they're in Silicon Valley, or they're American. So uh, Coca-Cola, was one of the first to really drive that company through design back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even earlier actually in the 20s. Um, and yet there's so much ignorance about design as well, so I guess that's what happens in a big country. You have everything. Europe, definitely the guy digging up the road. Shall we go back to him? If I think he's got a bit more of an understanding. If he's digging up the road in Milano, he's probably understands just the power of design just a little bit more, or a little bit more of the understanding of design. It's kind of running through their blood, through their generations, than say someone digging up the road in Manhattan. Um, I think that's true. However, um, I think design in Europe is still a lot more boutique in approach. There might be, 10, 20, 30 people working in an organization. There's a lot more of those types and passed down through families, a shoe designer in, Fatsura. There's a
Mm.
fantastic story in Italy, passed down the generations making shoes. There's a lot more of those type of stories, I think, in Europe, tucked around Europe, which makes it fascinating. Having said that, I mean, we did two stories at SAP in Germany.
Mm.
Oh my goodness. They're running the world, those people.
Right.
So SAP
Right.
are everywhere in what they do, and the kind of innovation and the thinking, the design thinking that's going on in the halls of those places
Mm.
is just outrageous. Coming back to America, though, I mean, if America could, I mean, this is back to water smashing against the rocks. If America can really hit its straps when it comes to design, they'd be unstoppable. They like Europe should be scared because if as America grows in its concept and understanding of design, because they got everything else, they're great with scaling, etc. So yeah, you need to look out for America because
Right.
not just our show, of course, but there is a gathering understanding of design happening in America. I think this cause is gathering momentum, and it'd be interesting in 100 years. Not that I'm going to see it, but where the design center of the world will actually be. Then, will it be America?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really wonder because, as you mentioned, it feels they're closer with each other. I mean, I guess it has also to do with the language and being just one huge country. And here it's really segmented.
Yeah.
that I don't feel like, I mean, we have, as you mentioned, we have this huge knowledge of design, or we should have. We know the power of, let's say, brown, for example. It still makes an impact. Even though I don't know if brown is still, brown was just sold to I think Procter Gamble bought it. Like hundreds,
Not sure.
not thousands, but tens of years ago. Anyhow, but I feel like they're way too segmented and not working towards one goal with each other. I don't know how you find that through the show as well, or with the companies talking with each other, or
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the United States of Europe. It's definitely different. The whole euro and the economy and so on. They've kind of tried to do that, but I mean they're very different cultures and countries. You just need to talk to an Italian next to a German, next to a Spanish person. They're just crazy different.
Exactly.
They might be geographically slightly close by world terms, but yeah, they might as well be on the other side of the planet. Yeah, so it is segmented. You're right. Another thing in the show, getting involved in the show. I mean, I guess maybe it's first series, creaks and groans, but Europeans are perhaps a little less gun. How do I put it? They're a bit more gun shy. They're a little bit. Oh, I don't know. Do I want to be in the show? Oh, maybe. Can I get back to you? Whereas Americans tend to be, hell yeah, let's give it a crack.
Exactly.
Let's give it a go. What's the worst thing that could happen? Whereas Europeans seem to worry a lot. I don't know. They worry about everything to do with. I mean, that's I'm being ridiculous, really. There's individuals, and they're the ones who end up in the show. I guess the ones who worry less.
Exactly.
Yes. So there's still a lot of raging entrepreneurs in Europe, no doubt about it, and a lot of those come on our show.
Yeah, I think it's also like being exposed and then saying something and then being judged.
Yeah.
I think that's something I have no idea. I mean, I'm Swiss and I'm half Mexican, half Swiss, half Mexican. So I try to understand both sides. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. So,
wow.
I guess it is like that. It's like, don't be too loud as a kid. Don't be too loud when people are like in church, for example.
Yeah.
Or in school. Don't be loud. Try to focus. Try to always be nice and calm, which has his upside.
Oh,
so
of
you're
course.
very focused.
It's nice and I think, to be around.
Yeah. What I found is, I mean, in Switzerland, we have the apprenticeship programs are very strong. So you have an apprenticeship, let's be, say, 3 years or 4 years, depending on the job you want to learn. And you learn it from the peak on, which is great. Let's say you start in the industry and do some milling. You learn exactly how to do some milling. You learn about materials, about the fabrication, how is everything done. And that gives a great insight of the manufacturing, of the production side. And you're longer in the cycle of studying. I guess that's something that can also be like hindering to be loud. Like being in church, being in school, be quiet, listen to what we have to tell you.
Yeah.
And it gets ingrained in you. I don't know.
That was you trying to explain it.
Yes. Psychology 101 with Roberto.
Yeah. Wow. I think
I have no idea. I mean,
I'm none the wiser.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, well, definitely. No, I don't know if that's one thing, but we tend to be more cautious of the things we spend money on and how we expose ourselves. If there is a bigger ROI, or if not, and
yeah,
I think it's about being cautious and wanted to have good quality, which also goes back to the apprenticeship, because we really learn how to create something from the peak. Let's say if you want to be a painter, you learn how to paint exactly. You learn about materials, the colors, and so on, so on, so on. So I guess it's more like learning the quality instead of just putting out quantity out.
Yeah.
Me again, trying to explain it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're right about the quantity quality thing. And maybe America is a little bit guilty of more worried about the quantity uh, in a general way. But all my design friends that I've made, I've probably just lost them in saying that, because there's a lot of quality, a lot of great design going on in America. That's something I've really discovered since being here. I came in the middle of a raging pandemic. You may have heard of it, in 2020.
Yeah, something was there. I don't know.
Little thing, yeah.
Right.
Everybody was going that way, and I was coming
Exactly.
into New York. So, got a great deal on an apartment here in West Village, actually, because I was breathing and actually there. But that was a kind of an interesting making of the show too, because some of the usual shows couldn't be on air because they couldn't make their shows. So Wheel of Fortune and Entertainment Tonight, they couldn't make their show. So we got a chance on some crazy time slots that we would never usually dare to ask for with our design show. So there's another story, and how, I would never have taken us there if I had the choice. But since we were there, we kind of benefited from it, actually, just by seeing the wave coming and catching the wave and surfing it.
What made you go to New York? I mean, being a contrarian or seeing opportunity or both? Or...
Yeah, it was the opportunity, the timing. I mean, we had already been, actually, Scott Henderson, one of your guests recently, was very instrumental in, and also Dan Harden over there on the West Coast. Dan, for example, was a guest on our Australian show, like an international guest, as a commentator on the Australia ByDesign show. And we flew him in to Sydney, and he was part of the panel and so on. And he said afterwards, God, this show would go off in America. Why aren't you doing this in America? So he was a little bit the start of a seed, a seed of an idea he planted, for sure. And then Scott was very much part of that. Scott Henderson introducing us to the IDSA, and the CEO of the IDSA at the time. And I met up with him in a cafe in San Francisco, and we just hammered it out. Basically, we said, this is all prior to COVID. We could do a show here. Why don't we start it in California with California ByDesign, which we did. And that was really the start of it. We did all that prior to, and it was a great show, great little show. You can still find it on our website, actually, on ByDesign.global. I think we made that in 2018.
Wow.
Had a whole bunch. Yeah. And of course, when COVID came, we thought we were done, like everybody else. Okay, let's hang our producer boots up and go drink beer or something. I don't know. I wasn't sure what I was going to do until this opportunity started to, I was talking to CBS at this point about expanding the California show into New York. And that's where we thought, well, we can actually make this show. It's it doesn't have a studio audience, it's small crew. We very much, wherever we go, we're a documentary size crew.
Wow.
And that's good. I mean, it turns out we're designers as well. I call it TV producing, but I guess it's designing.
Absolutely.
It means we can go into places without, say, with the hotel show, you don't have to close down the lobby for an hour while we're filming the lobby scene. People can just walk around us. We're completely wireless. There's no cords across the table with lights, kind of, old style TV. This is,
right.
Yeah, this
Agile,
is how we
call it. A
Agile
boutique design studio.
Yeah, it's boutique. But I mean, when you look at the show, you think, I know I've a lot of my TV friends, my producer friends say, wow, what's your crew size? You know, how do you put that together?
Right.
When I tell them, they are surprised.
Yeah, that they shouldn't be talking too loud about that. People are like,
No,
"Oh, we don't need that many people."
exactly.
No,
Yes.
it's well, it's really well produced, well created show, and the stories are great, and it really feels like it's a bigger crew, I would say.
Mm.
So
Yeah, we are punching above our weight. I mean, we've got a cool team of people, a couple of cool cats in the New York office. Morgan and Polly, who are very behind the scenes, they're really great with putting the stories together and talking about them. Um, that I mean, it's about a third of the job happens before you pick the camera up. You know, about a
yeah,
third of the argument is, or the third of the battle is planning and how are we going to tell this story exactly. So we spend a lot of energy at the front end of the process, so that then the middle part, the filming, is actually quite seamless, and we still leave about 15% for inspiration on the day,
right,
uh,
absolutely.
for some epiphanies. And the other great thing is humor. I try to work in humor. It's the great communicator to the football crowd. Um, it's an accessible way of getting across some information. If you dress it up as a joke, that's
But can you make it? Well, I mean, I'm sure you can make it sound genuine, but I can imagine like those 15% are where the gold is hidden sometimes, like especially in the joke parts, or like people
yeah,
having a conversation and then suddenly it's like, oh, that's interesting. Let's keep it in there.
yeah, yeah. You try some stuff as well because it's all cut later, all edited later. So um, you're in a safe space. So we try some things. A lot of it's just ends up on the
Right,
floor. It's just
right,
just rubbish. It's not funny. It's missing the point. It's
oh,
it's just,
right,
but you got to try. You got to fail your way to
right.
a good show. Bit like
It has a lot
design.
of parallels. Yeah, it has a lot of parallels with design. Like to really have a great story before you actually start producing and doing something. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
Maybe something good happens, but usually just a waste of resources.
yeah.
So I
So
like
you get into
sorry.
processes where you try and minimize that wastage. In the process of how you do things.
What was the most memorable moment you had? Or like one of the most?
With the ByDesign series, boy, there's been a lot. One of my well, actually, the interviewing Ross Lovegrove was definitely a great moment. I just really enjoyed that. Tom Dixon in London was another great Bitey Plus interview. Enjoyed that too. He's very commercial creature. He took over at the Coal Drop Yards studio that he has in London. He took it over from Jamie Oliver, actually.
Ah,
They, Jamie Oliver, the chef, was going to use it as his test kitchen sort of site. Um, but he was an interesting character as well. Really humble. Again, a hard worker. Clearly, a hard worker. It's funny how does it go? It seems the harder I work, the luckier I am.
right,
Or the luckier I get.
right.
So that's totally. I can see that with these people that I interview.
Mhm.
Reseat in the Bay Area. Um, what a cool story. I love those guys. So they're um, tackling the problem of office furniture wastage.
Mhm.
So when a big company moves out of an office, they never think about what to do with the furniture because they go to a new place and it's going to be a redress. What happens to these floors upon floors of furniture? Because the new tenant, who's going to be another big company who has their own look and feel and branding, the first thing they do is get rid of the furniture if it's still hanging about, and then do it again. So this is just like landfill city, in office furniture. They're working with Gensler and others, and 90 in the Bay Area, to to tackle this problem, massive problem. About how you can tag, how you can, because you can. A lot of this furniture is only 6 months old. So and it
Wow.
ends up in landfill. Um, and it's all about timing and
Mhm.
getting to because the office that's leaving, it's not like it's run by people who are evil. They just have no options. So that's
Mm.
what ends up happening. No practical options.
Mhm.
So they're providing a practical option. Anyway, look them up. Reseat.
Yeah,
They are
I definitely will.
RESEAT. Reseat. They're doing
Yeah,
great stuff.
there's a great opportunity on that, like a really big opportunity.
Cheers. They want to take that global too. They're working in America at the moment, I think. I don't want to
Mm.
misrepresent them, but I think so. But I mean, that is just a global. They
Yeah,
should be
they should.
Brandy and Eric who run that.
Mm.
Brandy and Eric.
Yeah,
They deserve to be wealthy one day. They're doing a great job.
they're gonna be.
I hope so.
One thing that I really would like to know your take on that is especially on future trends, since you are really like on the forefront of trends or what's happening. So based on your observation and work across the different markets and industries, what trends do you see shaping in the future of design for the next decade, or let's say in the next 5 years?
What do you think I'm going to say?
Two
uh,
letters.
exactly. That is starting to fill our show. AI is just amazing. I don't think it's all bad. I think we've got to be cautious. But I feel like now every third story in the show is talking about AI or referencing it in some way.
Mhm.
So that's where all the eyeballs are at the moment, from big through small. So as I mentioned SAP, how we're doing a story. We filmed some of that in Germany, but we also filmed some because SAP have buildings everywhere, and so another one in Silicon Valley. And those people were very much saying how it's going to integrate into design, into our jobs, into my job, into everything. And that's the big thing in the next
Mhm.
5-10 years, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great tool. Let's be honest. I mean, but I don't think a bad designer is not going to be a good designer with that.
No,
But a good designer can be a great designer with that.
yes, if they can be freed up from, it's a bit the same as robots, isn't it? If we can keep the robots doing the boring stuff to
Yeah.
free us up to be brilliant, more time to be brilliant, that's the world we're looking for.
So yeah, let's see how that's going to be. But I still believe there's still going to be a lot of room for personal interaction, communities, like one-on-one people talk with each other.
Hmm.
Maybe not on the like the way we are doing it on the calls, but like in person.
Yeah, there's going to be almost like a backlash to how everything is now, so electronic.
Right.
I mean, that's what happens in the world, doesn't it? If you just look back in history, everything old is new again. So I can see how people yearn that, to
Mm.
turn your phones off. And um, I actually make another little show that's coming out, which is like a little travel show that I'm the host of. Um, Not sure where it's going to be seen yet. We've just started making it, and it's called Offline Travel. And it's kind of about this. It's about throwing your phone away, get rid of it, and come to a place, land in Colombia, and forget about TripAdvisor or any of those others who just take you to all the places that everyone else goes, and talk to people. Ask them what should I do? What's the underbelly of this place?
Mm.
Where should I go? You end up in some interesting clubs, some
Wow.
interesting cafes, and all sorts. In different
Mm.
places, some interesting back streets.
Oh, that's a great
Uh,
story.
yeah, It'll probably be the demise of me one day. I'll end up in some back streets,
But with a smile.
With a smile. End up running into an aggressive goat or something.
Right.
Still, that'd be a great way to go, wouldn't it?
There we go. Yeah, that would be a great story. Left with a goat. Yeah, I mean, it's cool because a friend of mine, I think she left the house, left the phone there, and 30 hours later she came back. And there is this mythical story what happened behind it, but she's like, it's so freeing. It's so interesting.
And you look at photos from the last 10 years, they've all changed, of crowds, like a city street and so on. Every second person's doing this. That's all changed. These smartphones have changed everything, haven't they, as far as how people behave and how they look and how they think, how they do things.
Yeah, that's just the thing. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's definitely challenging, especially in the realm of design. Everything has to be connected with an app.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a time, a little bit like when you look back, that was during COVID, because look, they're all wearing masks. That was a period. I think this whole smartphone thing will be a period. I don't know what it'll be, 20 years, 30 years. But then we'll stop doing that, I imagine. I don't know, it'll be something else.
Yeah, like so we see now with the little devices, AI devices, that you just pin on yourself. And then it's connected with with your phone, I guess. But you can communicate with that. You can talk with them. They have a little projector that goes onto your hand where it says what time it is, or I don't know.
No way.
It works exactly.
Well, and so you're doing this with your hand?
Yeah, so it just projects on your hand the info you want to know.
Wow.
And you talk with yourself. So that's out now.
Right. Oh, well, there you go. That's going to be the next crowd photo. People doing this.
Oh man, yeah, interesting things are coming. Is there something that I forgot to ask you that you would like to share?
I mean, we're continuing to make this show, Europe by Design. We've started looking for stories in the Middle East as well, because there's a lot going on there with the architecture in particular. Our friend Ross Lovegrove, actually, I think he's moved to the UAE, because he's got a bunch of projects going on there. That's just a little example of how things are shifting that way. They really are trying to create the center of the universe there, aren't they, in the Middle East?
Tell me about it. I'm going to be there, so.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All the cool people are going there.
Of course.
So we want to... No, won't have you say that. So that is an interesting, intoxicating place to see what's going on there. So we're looking for stories there at the moment, which is an interesting exercise. But Europe too. Europe by Design Season 1 was definitely a success. Some great stories of all shapes and sizes, from Estonia to the obvious ones like Germany, the UK, Italy, but also Poland. So I remember I did a piece to camera in Season 1 of the show where I was saying that Eastern Europe is the new black. There's a lot going on in Poland and Estonia, as I mentioned, and places like that. That was probably an interesting learning that I didn't realize. I guess with the whole the Russian thing going on at the moment, there's a big market there that's to the east that they perhaps is not for them anymore, and so they're looking to the west more to explore. So suddenly the American market is way more interesting to them, for example. So that's an interesting trend that's going on at the moment in Eastern Europe. So
great people. Great people, amazing designers.
Hard workers, used to working hard. Yes, amazing designers.
Right, exactly.
what you were touching on before, the whole crafts, passed down through generations, that is so rich. Croatia is another place like that where we did some stories there. So anyway, we're looking for projects. So,
we should bring you to Switzerland.
Yes, you know what? We haven't done a story in Switzerland. I almost did. I was talking to someone the other day and they decided they didn't want to do it. Again, it was one of these, oh, I don't know conversations. But
Let me know if you got them and I can talk to them.
Yes.
In Swiss German, so that might be easier.
It might help make them feel more comfortable about going into the American market and making money. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I know it's a difficult decision. But yes, Switzerland would be a great place. So we're looking for projects. Very interested at the moment. We're working with our friends, the German Design Council, who, of course, have done a lot of the hard work for us. The cream has already risen to the top through their awards system. So they're a great partner to have to find great stories, to find leads and start conversations. Same with that actually started with our original profile that we created, our original format that we created for Australia by Design, working with the Good Design Awards in Australia with Brandon Guillen there. We learned that was a really great process there. So when we came to America, that's where we went to the IDSA and their Idea Awards. And then when we went to Europe, the German Design Awards. It's all part of our, see what I mean? I'm a designer. I'm just
absolutely
doing it again.
We got you.
Exactly. It's through hanging around with you design folk in more recent years that I've realized I am an accidental designer that I used to call TV producing.
Right. Yeah. And fighting for the cause.
Exactly. And a soldier, as well.
That's right. Absolutely. Now let's see if we can bring in people. And I hope that some listeners can really get in touch with you.
Yeah. Yeah, go to ByDesign.global if you want to get in touch with us. That's the easy way. Or you can look us up on LinkedIn if you like with ByDesign TV. That's the way to get in touch. We're relatively you've got a few people working for us, but you're not coming to a big corporate. We answer everybody and we're keen to talk. We get quite a lot of approaches. It's great, but always wanting more. No doubt about it.
That's good. And are you also open for graphic design? Or is it more industrial design at the moment?
Yeah.
Still?
Oh, no. We like the occasional graphic design story. Absolutely. Yeah. That whole area is probably something we could do more of if it would present itself. Maybe we haven't really shown that we're open to that. So, okay. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to say, let's do some more graphic design stories.
I mean, Switzerland has a huge reputation and history with graphic design, so who knows?
You got to get me to Switzerland. I hear you make good chocolate there.
Absolutely. And cheese.
And cheese as well. Okay.
There you go. See?
I'm sold. Yes.
That's easy.
Just don't tell my cardiologist.
I have two questions. One is something that I really like to ask is, what is something that you believe that nobody else does? And the other question would be, how do you see the value of design for a company from your side? Because if I tell it, I'm biased. Kind of.
All the big successful companies, the biggest companies in the world, are designed. That's the stats. So there's something in that. I do remember talking to a dinosaur once. This old head of a company who actually said, I'm not even going to say what market it was. He said, the design department, they make it look pretty, they put the lipstick on the pig sort of thing. And I was thinking, what? Because I was talking that he had a really great design department who had kind of been instrumental in getting us in there to tell their story. And the boss came along and said that. Wow. So he's not getting it, but maybe when he watched this show, he finally understood there. But all big companies put design right at the forefront of what they do. You got to always be innovating, pivoting, staying fresh, refocusing. That's what design's all about.
Right. Absolutely.
What do I believe that nobody else does? Wow. What would that be? That the earth is flat? No.
We have that.
Other people believe that.
Absolutely.
No, not that. No, I know it's round. Yeah, I know what it is. I think what I was saying, I think America can be a force in design, can be taken seriously by the design elite around the world. They have the resources. If they could just have the understanding, I think America is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to design. So many cool people here, so much cool design going on. And if they get organized, look out.
Right. That's going to be one.
So I don't know what you think of that.
Yeah, let's see.
So,
hey, well, thank you very much for your time, Mike. And I really look forward to have another conversation with you.
Yeah, you bet. I've enjoyed this. I love your podcast, by the way. I've listened to them along the way, so it's quite the honor to be part of it, you know. So yeah, I'm a fanboy.
Thank you. At Conversations with Roberto, we believe we can build better brands, experiences, and products by having conversations and learning from experts and leaders in their fields. Send this episode to a friend or friends that need those insights and frameworks, and rate us and review us on your favorite platform. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Roberto. Bye.